Sporting Journal Radio, presented by Onyx.
Were you surprised, Dan, at how clear the water was?
No, that's pretty typical for, well, I shouldn't say maybe that clear is typical. It was real clear, probably 3-4 feet. But that water typically is clearer as far as Mississippi River standards go. So I wasn't surprised by that. I mean, there's no runoff, so it's not all that surprising. And that's why fishing normally is tough come this time of year, because that water is clear, becomes a morning, evening bite, and people don't think of the river that way, so they think they can go down there at 9 o'clock and hammer them all day. That's just not the case. You got to, fish walleyes like you would almost in a lake. So, no, I wasn't really surprised, and it's just the conditions. That dirtiness comes from runoff and other situations and other water flowing in, and when other rivers are frozen and not flowing in, and there's no rain and obviously no snow running off. Until that day, there was a little bit, of course, because it was warm, but that's just it's not all that uncommon to see it that clear down there like that.
Yeah, that's right. That was that Saturday, 2 weeks ago or whatever it was, and it was beautiful, about 40 degrees. We did see a lot of other boats start to show up. It got pretty busy on the river around midday, but we got there. The key, we're going to give you a little secret right now.
I don't want to give this secret away.
Well, that's what we're here to help people.
I don't care. I want to, it's not really a secret. People know, they're just lazy.
It is. That is definitely part of it, because we got up super early to get there, and it was not a lot of fun. But fishing before it got very light out, and that's, again, clear water. That low light is going to be your best time before sunrise and and after sunset, and that's what we found. I mean, we did catch fish throughout the day.
Yep.
But the fish got a little bit smaller and a little bit more sporadic, few and far between. But before that, sun got real high, and it was a beautiful day. Like, it was sunny, it was calm, it was warm.
I think it was nicer that day, mid-February, than it was the day before Easter last year.
I think you're right, because I was dressed in my ice fishing stuff, I think, last Easter when we were down there. And this time I was fishing. I mean, I layered up, but I didn't have my big heavy jacket on, my float suit or anything like that. So it was nice. But we caught fish in the kind of the pre-dawn, pre-sunrise hours there. And I was surprised at the presentation, Dan.
Why is that?
Well, usually you think about rivers. If you're thinking about some stained water or some murkier water, you can usually use a heavier jig. And when you're talking about current, you need that heavier jig at times to get down there, or some sort of, current cutting jig or something like that. But granted, the current was a little lighter. I think clear water, not a lot of current. We used really light jigs while we were down there.
Yeah, well, I mean, the trick is not necessarily using a heavier jig. It's using it's doing whatever you need to do to get to where the fish are. And in my philosophy, that's do it as light and small as possible, especially in winter and spring, because these fish, they're not super aggressive. A lot of times they're just kind of hanging out down there and just slurping up bait. They're not necessarily attacking like they will in the spring or summer. But we used some smaller jigs, and you had to let out a lot of line. We were long lining these things, and a lot of people forget about that because you lose some sensitivity when you do that. Mm-hmm. You want, in my philosophy, whether it's bottom bouncing or jigging, is to always keep a 45-degree angle in your line and maintain contact with bottom. That's how you get the most sensitivity. We had probably almost, I don't know, it's been a while since I took a math class, so 160-degree angle maybe with our line. And it was
I'll go with it.
Way out there, and I don't know how much line we had out, but you couldn't hardly feel bottom, so you had to kind of watch your line, watch for it to go slack when you hit bottom. You weren't going to feel it, and just hold it there and drag it along the bottom, a little bit above bottom, and wait for a fish to slurp it up, and man, it worked.
Yeah, it worked, and it was tough to get the feel for it if you weren't used to fishing that way. And it was a soft bottom, kind of a sandy bottom, so even when you did hit bottom, you didn't feel much. There was some pretty good thumps when you caught fish, though.
Oh, yeah.
They were thumping it pretty good, and I'll tell you what, Tim DeMel definitely had the system dialed in, and he outfished us and caught some nice fish. So thank you, Tim, for taking us out there.
He's only done it like every weekend of his whole life.
That's right.
He's pretty good at it.
See that episode coming up on Prairie Sportsman.
Hear more at sportingjournalradio.com or wherever you get podcasts. Live Target, the leader in Match the Hatch, is back with new lures that also match the action. Introducing the Live Craw. The Live Craw is irresistible to bass, walleye, and other freshwater species. FTech's winner, the Ultimate Frog, looks and acts just like a swimming frog. With an exposed ultra-point mustad hook and replaceable legs, the Ultimate Frog has 2 styles, 2 sizes, and 8 colors. And iCast and FTech's winner, the Live Shrimp, mimics a fleeing shrimp for saltwater anglers. Coming soon from Live Target.